tribes, they were not initially ready to accept that kind of new policies, new changes. And they had fear in their mind that, if they accept it, it may affect their traditional political institutions. And therefore, as already I pointed out, Naga, Khasi, Mizo, they had a conflict with the British government. But to some extent, again, I should say that the Christian missionaries again played a very, very vital role in that point of time also, because the Christian missionaries, they convinced the chief, the leaders of civil society, that some changes is very, very important for the development, for the betterment of their life, livelihood, as well as conditions of life. And because of spread of Christianity and Western education, finally, the tribal people of Northeast India, they welcome the changes, they welcome modernization in the hills of Northeast India. But we should not forget that, in different course of time, that the hills tribe people, they submitted different memorandums to the then British government, and they seek, they asked for development and changes in the hills areas. So, for example, in 1927, when the Simon Commission came to India, Indian National Congress and other political parties, they boycotted Simon Commission and they said go back Simon Commission. But on the other hand, the tribal organization belongs to the Borah community, Naga community. They welcomed the Simon Commission and they submitted a memorandum to the Simon Commission, and they stated that the Britishers should do work more for the development of education, infrastructure, road, transport, communication, health, particularly in the hills areas of Northeast India. And that proposal was accepted by the Simon Commission, and according to that, initiatives were taken. And if you read the Government of India 1935 very carefully, then you can see, according to that memorandums, a lot of things were incorporated in the Government of India 1935. Well, at the same time, we should not forget that during the time of colonial period also, the Nagas had a political conflict with the mainstream of India. Because the Nagas, when they came to know that India is going to get independence and India is going to divide into two nations, the Nagas were not ready to join with Indian Union, particularly under the leadership of Fijo, under the leadership of Fijo. And what he did, he requested the British administration, British government, that they should consider the case of the Naga and they should give a separate independent nation to the Naga people. And Naga National Council, which was formed in 1946, played a very, very, very significant role in that political movement. In fact, Naga National Council and some other organization, they appealed to the British government that even if they are ready to give independence to the people of India on 15th August 1947, but for next 10 years, means from 47 to 1957, for next 10 years, the Britishers should be the administrator. They should govern the Naga people and they should be there in Nagaland. And after 10 years, the Britishers should decide whether they want to give a separate nations to the Naga people or they want to allow the Naga people to join with Indian Union. That kind of appeal it was there at that point of time. And in the same way, if you take and consider, the other, tribals of Northeast India, they also had a political conflict with the then mainstream India and political leadership of Indian National Congress. Say for example, when Cameron Mission came to India, and after that Lord Mountbatten became the viceroy or Governor General of India, And you must be knowing about the grouping plan of Lord Mountbatten, and when it was decided to include Assam into Group C, not only the political leadership from Assam, they opposed it. Along with the political leadership from Assam, the tribal people of Northeast India also opposed. And the Plains Tribe Organization, because one organization, it was formed in 1935 by this Plains Tribe of Assam. They opposed the decision of Lord Mountbatten, and they have stated that if the British government do not change the policy and do not allow to come out from that Group C, then they may go for another independence movement, of course, for the people of Assam and Northeast India. So that kind of things were there during the time of colonial period also. I am talking about the political issues. Like Naga had a political issues during that colonial period. Assam had political issues. The Plains tribe of Assam had political issues. The Hills tribe also had a political issues. And keeping in mind about all these political issues, you must be knowing that, the framers of Indian constitutions, the Constituent Assembly appointed one committee under the leadership of Gopinath Bordoloi to review and to get the feedback from the people of Northeast India about their future course of action in independent India. And who were the member of that committee? Nicholas Roy was a member of that committee. And some others were the member of that committee. And that committee submitted its report and stated that, the people of Northeast India, the tribal people of Northeast India, they are ready to join with Indian Union, but with certain terms and conditions. Because though the tribal people of Northeast India, they were under the colonial rule, but even then, the tribal people of Northeast India, they had their own freedom. They had that, their internal sovereignty. But if they join with Indian Union, they have to give up their sovereignty. And in place of sovereignty, the government of India should give certain special provisions to them so that they protect their own rights, traditional culture, rituals, land, language, so and so in post-independent India. And because of that, finally the framers of Indian constitutions, they included the sixth schedule in our constitution. It is not like that, without any feedback, without any kind of debate and discussion, suddenly that sixth schedule was included in our constitution. It is not like that. Because Gopinath Bordoloi, Nicholas Roy, and his team visited to each and every corner of Northeast India. They visited Garu Hills, Khasi Hills, Jaintia Hills, Mizu Hills, then Naga Hills, then Manipur. They visited the different parts of Northeast India and they collected, the feedback. They collected the opinion, views of the tribal leaders of Northeast India, and all these views and opinions were incorporated in that report, and that report was submitted to the Constituent Assembly, and all these things were discussed in the Constituent Assembly, and finally, Nehru and others, they were agreed to give. Nehru and others, they were agreed to give the sixth schedule to the people of Northeast India. The sixth schedule is, in other words, I can say, is a kind of protection, is a kind of shield to protect the rights and interests of the tribal people of Northeast India. Now, in 2022, one can criticize sixth schedule, one can criticize inner line permit system, one can criticize the special status of Indian Constitution like Article 371, so and so. One can criticize, one can do it. But we should not forget about the political history. We should not forget about the colonial history, colonial administration, because the privileges were there during the time of colonial administration also. The political facilities were given during the time of colonial period also. And as I said, pointed out, the tribal people of Northeast India, they had sovereignty, internal sovereignty they had. in spite of the colonial rule, because the colonial masters, most of the cases, they did not interfere in the internal matters of the tribes at that point of time. They did not interfere. And to protect the internal matters, what they did, the colonial masters introduced different administrative reforms. As already I pointed out, they introduced different administrative policies to protect their interest. Now you see, the tribals, those who had that kind of protection during the time of colonial period, suddenly on 15th August 1947, that fear came into their mind that they are going to lose everything. They are going to lose everything. There will be nothing for them. That fear came into their mind. Though the framers of Indian constitutions, they assured the tribal people of Northeast India that we are going to protect your interests through the provision of the sixth schedule of Indian Constitution, through the provision of Article 244, Article 244A of Indian Constitution, Article 371 of Indian Constitution. Even then, the tribal people had a fear in their mind, and they become very suspicious that in due course of time, the independent India, the political leadership may change the constitution of India and may taken away all the powers, all the rights, all the privileges had given by the colonial masters. That fear, it was there in their mind. And because of that, the Nagas, they are the first one who did movement against the independent Indian government. Since 1946 onwards, you must be knowing that the political conflict is going on, and till today, it is an unresolved political issue. Okay, so in post-independent India, if we have to understand about the tribal movement, then we can try to understand from different perspective, because the nature of political movements are different. Okay, and different types of movements took place in post-independent India. The first one is the separate state movement. First one is separate state movement. Well, during the time of colonial period, all the hills were under the provision of district council, like Garu, Khasi, Jaintia, Lusai Hills, in other words, Mizu Hills, Naga Hills, all these were under the provision of district councils. Now,